Okay, I'm in the shelters again. So last night I was poisoned with carbon monoxide, I believe. Or that, or some combination of like incredibly rough COVID. It was designed in such a way where if I hear something, it would make me ill. And then I couldn't think. I had horrible migraines. I was like blacking out and whiting out. I went to the hospital and it's Sutter Health at Van Ness, and there were people there there was a sick child who had COVID, and there was also someone else who was like ill. It was a black man who was maybe 7 feet tall and 200 pounds and built like he looked like he was strong, and had some sort of mental health problem. And typically I can, it's like, how do I explain this? Every time I go to the hospital, right, if I don't violate HIPAA, then I can't speak about what other people have. But if I'm made sick at the same time that other people are made sick, and we all go to the hospital together because somebody has made us all ill at once, then my talking about it is going to then describe how it happens, right? Okay, so I think I found the root cause of all this, and it's stupid and annoying. It's like, so there's been a large number of concordances where it's like we're going to take several things that seemingly are unrelated and then relate them together in such a way where you're like, how does this all fit? Right? Like, where's the center of this thing? And this is probably the last one, but I don't know, because I don't know if it can get any simpler than this. Like, if you have a complicated set of like interwoven concordances, then it's like a large puzzle. If you have something this simple, then it's like a puzzle made for children. It's like there's only 4 pieces to it. But at the same time, it's like, if all the other puzzles are built around it, then finding this one 4-piece puzzle is like, you have to be told or you have no idea. So Norman Rockwell made the series of paintings called The Four Freedoms. It's freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion. So if you take Stairway to Heaven, that's like M.C. Escher, right? M.C. Escher is this, if you don't know, is this artist that made these impossible drawings that are black and white. So it's impossible in black and white, but in color, it's Norman Rockwell. So that looks like Dark Side of the Moon, right? The prism. And then it's a Stairway to Heaven. So like, what it is you can have one of the 4 and then do that as like your modus operandi, your job, your thing. Or you could have 3 of the 4, but you can't do all of them. So for example, right now I have freedom of speech, freedom from want, freedom from fear, but only because I'm writing out, and then I'll email everybody how it works. Until they find another way to build like stuff off of it that's going to be more complicated to like make, behaviorism based on it or something similar. But then I no longer have freedom of religion, because then I always have to talk about it to like undo the stupidity around it. If I'm poor, then I have the other ones, right? Because then there's nothing, like, people would like in some sense like pity you and like say there's nothing to steal from them, so I'm not going to take anything. if you don't say anything, then you can have the other ones, but then someone will be hurt because of it. And then, was it freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom of speech? Oh, and then like, if you're scared all the time, then similarly, like you can have the other ones, but you're always going to be terrified. So maybe this is just being terrified all the time, as opposed to religion, in which case you like choose an ideology to be like, I'm going to believe in this religion, even though it's nonsense, or you don't believe it in your heart of hearts, because for reasons, right? You'll have someone else who will take care of the other stuff, and then they'll feel good because they have a bunch of followers. None of which, I don't want that either. So what it is it's essentially like you gaslight someone, so if they do one and they find out that it's not working and they keep being made sick, you do the other, then they'll switch to some other one of the four, and you keep switching it between them, because it's like Stairway to Heaven, where you're just going to kill them. Somebody, like, I told the cop at the police station, and she says, oh, it sounds ironic. And then you're like, okay, what does that mean? Right? And that's a violation of freedom of speech, her speech, right? But then you think, okay, well, the city of San Francisco has the saying for the proverb for the city of San Francisco is, iron in times of peace, iron in times of war and gold in times of peace. It's like, okay, what's iron E? Well, if you take MC Escher and you take out the E, it's sure. Like, be quiet, emergency room. Or there's a book where they don't have the letter E and someone remakes the town, right? But there's no letter E in the book, and so it's a lipogram. And irony was referenced historically in the 1990s, beginning in some sense with the introduction of the Marquis de Sade's book from French into English, which was part of, I believe, a cultural movement of the time, like kind of freedom of speech, but also an ironic one somehow, in a weird way. It was the American edition of the Marquis de Sade. It was his largest collection of writings, which may be ironic because, it's an American edition and it's a French book about sadomasochism, but the Americans are for freedom, so it's ironic in some sense, and that's irony. There's a movie about the Marquis de Sade called Quills, and if you take Quills and you spell it Q-U-Ills, that's similar in some sense to the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, and the joke about how everyone in the Soviet Union would see a line and then they'd line up outside of it. So if you give away food or you give away medicine, or there's something on sale that you can only get, and they won't raise the price so it'll run out, but there's something about what they're selling that'll make it so that if you use it and you're sick, you'll get better. Like Q, you ills, like get in a line, you ill people. And that's for people who are sadomasochistic. So you poison and drug someone for people you believe to be like bad people. There's the iron in the Monopoly game that goes in a circle. And so you could be like, if you get a job, then maybe you'll be like a cleaner or something, or work in laundry, and then you iron all day. And then you have a monopoly on the 4, And so the race car or the dog or the hat, you're the ironing board. You iron stuff. So you're menial labor. So each one of the pieces in Monopoly is, you get all 4 of them, but at the same time, then your life is constrained to this sort of caste system based on like the Parker brothers in a dumb sense. And then the other ones are like, if you know, now that I violated the freedom of speech, the other options are, right, like, one of, like, the Quills one could be fear, and then the one about, like, the letter E book could be freedom of, like, I don't know, freedom of religion or something. I don't know. But you see what this is it's like, she can say something minor that will then, like, I hate this word, but it'll trigger you to think, after all of the poisoning and the black and the gaslighting and the literal and metaphorical poisonings, that, like, using this sort of, like, dark pattern behaviorism is a way to, like, screw people over. And the sooner they find this out, then the more intelligent they are, not only because, like, the less they're going to be poisoned, but the more people that they haven't, like, told on, or who think are idiots and manage to, like, poison them and get away with something. And at the end, you're surrounded by people who either think you're an idiot, have compromised themselves in some way, or are, like, equally desperate. It has like references to the movie Hackers, which I've always liked as a movie. But it might be like, this is the way of there's a dark pattern. My father would always serve Cornish hens instead of turkey during Thanksgiving, perhaps because it was to be unlike the stupid painting by Norman Rockwell, which to me sounds incredibly strange. Although I do like Cornish hens, because everyone got their own one, and you have an entire thing to yourself. But, like, freedom from one is, like, everybody shares, and then, you know, freedom of religion is, like, you tuck in your kids, and then, like, I don't know, freedom of speech is you testify in front of other people even if you look dumb because his shirt's all messed up. And then, what was the other one? Freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom of religion, and what was it? Freedom from want, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and, well, I mean, anyway, it's free. Each one of the paintings has, like, its own thing, right? And part of this is like, okay, it's a memorization test. So what, you have the 12 apostles, right? You have a variety of saints. You can, let's suppose that you have some religion, right? Or some ideology, in which you will break down everything into, these are the component parts of what exists: earth, air, fire, and water. I don't know. So, the 10 Commandments. So part of the problem with the four freedoms thing is, it's like, this is one of those things that's going to piss people off, because, and probably did when he did it, because as soon as you make four freedoms, then someone's going to go, all right, what about black people? Because he later, like, changed his mind about a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if it was after or before these paintings, but one of the things was like, you know, what about integration? And then you say, well, you could have the four freedoms, but, like, does that include integration? Like, if your society, like, murders people that you don't think is part of those four freedoms, then is that okay? What if you don't follow one of the 10 commandments, but you satisfy the four freedoms? You see where this gets complicated, right? Because then there's some people that have to believe in rules, right? My point of view is that I'm a Kantian universalist to some extent. And you can poke holes in that if you want, but then those holes become, like, incredibly complicated. So, like, my shtick is, like, you can do what you want so long as you're not intentionally attempting to hurt other people. Or you're not in a position of power in which you can do so. And so, when he wrote these four freedoms, it's like, okay, so people will choose 3 of the 4, or 1 of the 4, in order to prove they're imperfect. And therefore, maybe it's like a kind of 1950s-esque sadomasochism? It seems incredibly strange to me because I don't believe in non-consent in terms, like, I look at pornography, but I don't believe in non-consent in terms of, like, sadomasochism, and I definitely don't believe in poisoning people with carbon monoxide, especially when it's me and I feel like my life is threatened. So, like, one of the things of this is like, if I'm in the shelter, okay, 555 Embarcadero, and I masturbate, then I've chosen, so I have my religion. Some people don't believe in masturbation. Some people do. I don't particularly believe it's a religion, but it violates the religious principles of at least some people. Right? Okay. So then, if I have religion, and I'm not scared, I'm not hungry, then I have to be scared of something. Or, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, if I have religion and I have enough to eat and I can say what I want, right? Then they're going to make me scared of something. They'll find a way to make me frightened. For my health, right? And if I'm not frightened, then they'll poison me repeatedly until I'm crazy or have brain illness and can never recover. And I've watched like 150 people leave the shelter in ambulances. And I figured, oh, they're drug users. But no, the staff and some of the homeless are insane. And they'll poison people according to Norman Rockwell paintings. Because there's a payoff, right? Like, if you can get, like, the longer it takes for someone to figure it out, the more money and drugs you get, and the cooler bad people think you are. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to unwind it no matter how long it takes. And then so long as you're in the same place that I am, everyone will know. You just tried to attempt to murder me. And I was like, go back to the shelter. I had people like run in front of me with their cell phones and then walk staring into their cell phones and then avoid me, like right at the last minute, like it's the Matrix. Because I'm not scared, I have enough to eat, and I'm talking. But I don't believe in my own religion. Right? I don't have freedom of religion because they're going to force me into therapy if I stay here. But if I live on the street, then I'll want something, but I'll have freedom of religion, freedom from want, or freedom of speech, and freedom from fear. But I'll go hungry. So all of this is designed to like fuck with people, and it's designed to make someone go insane, and it's spending a large amount of money, time, and effort to do so. So my solution to this is, I find, and it's just a matter of doing this over the long term, right? Like, I spent the last 3 years like saying, oh, here's part of the, so there's a bunch of artwork, right, around the city of different things that people have been sickened to. Because they'll use the artwork as, similar to Norman Rockwell, this is what we're going to sicken you to. And then that's the puzzle. And once you figure out the puzzle, then there was one with clowns. But this one is more along the lines of one that's next to UN Plaza. It's next to the proper building, on the side of it, no less. And Norman Rockwell is someone who's proper, right? It's this enormous puzzle, or it's these enormous knit lines in different colors all intersecting. And Q, like quills and Q ills, right? It looks like a giant QR code, but each one of the lines is a different color. And if you know what the colors mean, and you can line it up to like some cryptogram and take a picture of it, you would probably be able to say, okay, this color means one of these paintings, and this color means another one of these paintings. So if I can line up where the person is on the map to a city grid of where the shelters are, and like the time, over time with how the map changes, like while I do the grid, then I can find out how close they are to finding out about the Norman Rockwell paintings, which is the core of this giant square. And so each one of the paintings within San Francisco is just another way to fuck with someone. Which is like Casablanca, which is also in black and white, which is also like Pink Floyd. So all of which is an aside of how I believe that this is happening. But I was poisoned last night, and I go into the ER, and the doctors act strange, and then they give me 2 aspirin and tell me to leave. I don't trust that I can leave. I can stay here and not be sickened. I go to the FBI, and then I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to spend the rest of the day emailing everyone on the planet what I know and asking them what to do, because I don't know.